5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome everyone to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. Truth, Beer, and Podsequences is the podcast where we listen to all of the Cincinnati-based beer podcasts from the week before, and then we get together and give our version of the truth of those podcasts. Hopefully there aren't too many consequences from the hosts of the other shows when we give our version of the truth, and guess what? So far, so good. I am Marco. I'm a brewer here locally in Cincinnati, and I'm joined by the best co-host in Podcastlandia.
I am Julia. I like to drink all the craft beers that are in the Cincinnati area, and I like to write funny things about them on Facebook on occasion.
As we're getting started, as always, I'd like to give a big shout out and thank you to our podcast hosts, BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery, coming out to BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery. They've got a bunch of beer on tap. They got wine on tap. What do you need? You want some Twisted Tea? Want to slap somebody with Twisted Tea? Get over here and get it.
And if you just want to use the freshest smelling bathrooms around, the Cintas guy, make sure that BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery is taken care of.
Yes, he does. He was here.
He was here?
He was here.
Oh, I missed him by mere moments.
Yeah, you did, actually. Just mere moments. Today's show, excited, we have a sponsor for today's show.
Yes, we do. Our sponsor is Brandon J. Thank you so incredibly much for going to truthbeerpod.com and clicking on that blue support us button and contributing multiple pints to Marco and I to help keep the show running. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. And so as we're getting started, Julia, how do people get in touch with us? Where do they send any negative reviews? Where do they send messages about, I don't know, potential sponsorships, or how do they sponsor the show? Where do they find us?
Any complaints about the show, send them to @RagingHop on Twitter. If you have any other complaints, any compliments or any compliments, that's
so
the other
close.
word. They're so close, practically the same word. If you have anything you would like to let us know about the show, any ideas, if you're interested in being a guest on the show, we are on all of your favorite social media platforms at truthbeerpod. You can email us at truthbeerpod@gmail.com, or you can go to truthbeerpod.com and find the big blue support us link that you can donate a pint to us, or just some extra money if you would like to help us upgrade equipment and to do other fun things that we would like to do for the podcast.
Absolutely, and thank you to all of those who have joined us before and have done that, and welcome to anybody who's new to the show. Thank you for listening, and please, everyone, do your part. Like, share, follow, review, all of those things. Tell your friends about it. Tell the people that aren't friends about it, and talk about it at the water cooler or coffee pot at work, whatever it may be, from a safe, socially distanced standpoint and all of that.
If you join your Zoom meetings 5 minutes early and the 5 minutes before the meetings start, just say, hey, I checked out this cool podcast the other day. You should give it a listen as well.
That's right.
It would be appreciated.
Yeah, I truly appreciate everyone. So no good beer podcast go forward with their body of the episode without a beer.
It's true.
So we, being a very good beer podcast, as a matter of fact, we are the #1 podcast that talks about Cincinnati craft beer podcasts in Cincinnati.
And in Canada.
Yeah.
And in Australia, apparently.
And, anywhere else? Brazil?
I don't think we've had any downloads from Brazil, but there was one. There have been 1 or 2 from England. So we are #1 over there as well. So we are climbing those charts. And, eventually we'll take over the world.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the beer.
Yeah,
that was the important part of that conversation.
What you having, Julia?
I want to say I have the same thing that you're having, and that is IPA from Masthead Brewing up in Cleveland called Last Case Scenario. It is a very clean IPA. It is 8.2%, and it is pretty freaking phenomenal.
It is really good. # make beer clear. It's excellent. Excellent. Yes, we are having the same beer.
Yeah. I think no, we've had the same beer with the slow pour pills, but I want to say this is the first time we've had the same IPA at the same time on this show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Marco, in addition to having some excellent beer this week, did you listen to any Cincinnati craft beer podcasts this week?
Yeah, this was a haul for me for whatever reason. I'm not sure whether it's stuff going on at my full-time job or whatever. But yes, I did listen to all of the podcasts. It was tough, but I did it. All of the Cincinnati-based podcasts, I did cover those. I covered all those bases. What about you, Julia?
I believe that I covered those bases as well. And, I mean, want to let the listeners know what we're going to be going over today?
Yeah, we sure will. With our show today, we're going to go over and recap the Sonder Stories episode, where that was the record swap episode.
Yep. And then we also have Shift Beers and listening to them talk about what grinds their gears.
Yeah, grind your gears.
Yeah.
There's also another locally based podcast that came out. And if we could just take a moment of your time, we're going to be pretty serious here. A friend of the show and a contributor, Matt Damaris, he was on the pod just a few weeks ago. I just want to say that from Truth Beer Pod, and Julia can also speak about it, we want to send out our deepest thoughts and prayers. And Matt is not just a friend of the show, but a friend.
Oh, yeah.
You know, our thoughts and prayers go out to you and your extended family. With that being said, please go and listen to the latest Hustle and Brews, where they talk to Andy McLeese from Brink, and also the owner of the Cincinnati Watch Company.
And that would be Rick Bell. We both listened to the episode, but we decided that because our podcast does tend to be tongue-in-cheek, we're going to push reviewing this episode back a week. We're going to recap it next week. That way we give the proper respect to Matt and his family this week while they do what they need to do.
We have, as one of our things to do this year, is to spend time with our friends. I'm sure we'll see Matt and hang out with Matt in the future, as well as one of these days when we plan our all women Truth Beer Pod episode, we will have the Wolf on at some point this year, hopefully.
Yes,
Fingers crossed. That being said, go and listen to that episode of Hustle and Brews, and then that way you can test our accuracy when we talk about it next week. So with that, we're going to take a brief break and then come back at you with, I think we're going to talk about Sonder Stories.
Yes, sir. We'll be right back, guys.
We got volcanoes coming up from the sea.
I'm telling you.
Snow.
It's not enough
Snow coming
that
in
there's
Texas.
a pandemic. It's like everything else in the world is exploding as well. Like literally.
The polar ice caps are melting. The Bengals won a playoff game. This is the end.
The end, my friend.
That's very good.
Telling you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Thank you for sticking with us through that several-second break that you all experienced. So, Marco, let's dig into Sonder Stories, Chapter 86, the Record Swap Day, where they had Terry and Alex with Coal Mine Records and the Platinum Record Store, in addition to Macy from Sonder. She made a brief appearance, and Mitch, who we all know and love of another brewery's marketing fame, who made, I think, maybe 3 sentences the entire show.
Was it that many?
It might have been less than that.
I was struggling because, I mean, certainly we know Mitch, and it's been a while since we got to talk to Mitch, but we've interacted with Mitch before, so I was excited and a little disappointed that he wasn't a little bit bigger part of the show. However, he was there doing his job.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a content creator, a social media presence person, and so that's cool. Hi, Mitch.
Yeah. Hi, Mitch. We miss you.
Miss you, buddy.
See that you're doing all kinds of amazing things with Coal Mine. I'm glad that you seem to have found your place. We're proud of you.
That's awesome. Reach out to us, buddy. We'll get you on the show.
Absolutely.
So record swap. So first, do you want to talk about the beer?
Yeah, we'll kind of do.
How do you want to go about it?
So most of the episode was about just the record label, record store industry in general, Coal Mine, Plaid Room. But the episode title focused on their newest variant of. Do I really want to say variant of Record Hop? Is that accurate?
Version. Well, but the other thing is too, we're talking about an event that, when you're listening to this, already happened.
When we record this, it already happened.
Yeah.
So back on January the 15th, Sonder Brewing hosted their very first, I'm assuming there are going to be more of these, a record swap day, where it wasn't super clear to me from the episode, but it sounded like some of the local record labels, record stores could bring in records to sell to people, and also you as just the individual consumer, if you have records that you were interested in maybe swapping with other people, could bring in and do a swap, and it correlated with the release of this latest version of
or
the
sell
Record
to
Hop
the shop.
IPA, or sell to the shops.
Yeah, they would give you insight on value of the vinyl.
Right. So, Marco, were you a big record person, either now or back in the day?
I'm not now, but certainly given my age, I grew up with records in the household.
Same, yeah.
My parents had, Thriller album, Saturday Night Fever, several Santana. Gosh, what else? I mean, just so much variety. There was a lot of country music, and then there was Mexican music, and there were even stuff for us as kids to listen to. I can remember listening to like a Peanuts album.
Yeah. My mom had boxes of records, and I loved looking at the record art, like the cover art of the records. A lot of Led Zeppelin and Floyd. I remember the Carpenters' Christmas album being one of them.
Ooh,
big box sets of Christmas music. That's where I found my love of Carol of the Bells, for one of my favorite Christmas songs, musical interludes, whatever, of all time.
Sure.
And one of the stories that I remember Mom telling me, shout out to my mom who listens to the show. Hi, Mom. Hope I'm remembering this right.
Hey, Mom.
But apparently she had an album of Thriller. Good old MJ.
Yeah.
And apparently I listened to it so much that the only way for her to get a break from the song and for me to not play it on repeat on my little Fisher-Price plastic record player over and over was for her to physically break the record. So,
oh my God.
And I still haven't learned my lesson. I still overplay everything that, well, not Thriller, but just anything that I kind of get that nice little earworm on.
Yeah.
I just annoy the hell out of anyone that I'm around with it. But yeah, records were definitely a big part of my growing up. In my adult life, I love how they look. I love the tie-dye pressings of vinyl and all that. I just haven't gotten into wanting to buy a turntable and to bring more stuff into my house.
Neither have I. And what I would say is, as the technology for music has evolved, I've come along, reluctantly or not, or whatever, but I was walking through a big box store that has a red symbol on it, and I saw
like kind of like a big bullseye.
Like a big bullseye.
Okay.
And I happened to look over and I saw that there was vinyl. Like Adele's new record was on vinyl.
Yeah.
At this big box store. And I was like, wow, vinyl. And this is before the episode came out. So I was like, man, that people aren't lying. Like, vinyl is back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just about any new release anymore, you can get your download. You can still get CD copies. Almost all the big ones have a vinyl release to it as well, sometimes with multiple flavors of the color of the vinyl or, stuff like that. I think it's absolutely fascinating. We were talking a little bit about this in our pre-production meeting.
Yeah.
I don't know if it still does that nice little crackle when you first put the needle down on the record.
God, I hope it does.
I do too.
Right? That's
I do too.
That's an emotional connection.
It
Right?
really
It's almost
is.
like it's almost as if it's the build up to the
First
concert
note.
that you're about to listen to.
It's like when the house lights go down.
Yes.
That crackle is like, oh, it's about to start. It's about to happen. I am so excited.
Yes.
But yeah, let's get into the beer. This version, I don't have written down what volume of record hop this is. Is this 6?
I don't know, 6 or 7.
6 or 7. They got some hops from the Yakima Chief. It was actually a collaboration with Yakima Chief Hop Farm, and they really didn't mention what hops specifically went into this beer, other than some were cryo hops.
Yeah, there was cryo hops. I believe a social media post actually told you what they were.
Okay.
However, I believe they were experimental, so
Right.
they're actually not named. They're not named an actual name. Like it's not the Marco hop or the Citra hop. It's the
Experimental number 9.
something of the nature,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Like blah blah blah. This number, you know.
Maybe it'll have a name eventually if it becomes a frequently requested use.
Yeah,
whatever
it
hop,
usually
but
go
okay.
through a couple of seasons where the hop really comes forward and produces consistently a particular flavor profile. And if there is that sort of demand for that, then they go ahead and make it mainstream and name it.
Yeah, they did say that this is a Midwest IPA, which I think even Danny said, yeah, it's not a real style, but it's not a New England. It's not really a West Coast. It's a Midwest. It's a Midwest IPA. So it's probably going to have a nice amount of bitterness. And Marco is rolling his eyes so hard you can probably
God,
hear
you're
it.
telling on me. Oh, my God.
There are like 5,000 different types of IPAs anymore. And I find it funny. I thought that it was funny that they actually said, yeah, it's kind of like a Midwest IPA, even though that's not a thing. So I had to
Sure.
bring it up.
Sure. Look,
The brewer in Marco is dying slowly inside.
You made a clear IPA with I haven't tasted it, first of all.
I haven't either. I'd like to, though.
You made a clear IPA. Does it have bitterness and yet maybe some tropical notes?
Probably.
Great. Yeah, I look forward to having it, and you know, when a new record hop comes out, if I'm there, I'll have them.
If I see it in cans, yeah, I almost always pick it up because they're always very good.
Yeah, and if I'm at the tap room and there's a lot of times you'll end up finding two,
Right.
and
you can try them.
yeah, so I'll try both. Why not? And
So
yeah.
because there are different hops in each version of record hop, could you consider if you had version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever you're up to, since it's not the same recipe, like it's legit different hops, it's a different beer every time almost, could you
Right.
still count that as a vertical? Or is vertical more, and again, this is one of those, everyone you ask
Sure,
is
why
going to have a
not,
different
right?
answer, but yeah, okay.
I mean, why not? I mean,
agreed.
it's the same beer, it's the same base, but if they change the hops now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they changed the hop schedule. They didn't say that, and that could
Right.
certainly lend itself
it.
to a different sort of profile. But the base beer, they're saying, doesn't change. It's just
Right.
the hops, and so. I don't see why not, and because
That's
they themselves on Sonder Stories talk about, I liked this versus this. I wasn't as high on this version as that version, and so on and so forth. So I don't see why not. As a matter of fact, I would venture to guess that they're probably saving just a little bit of every
every one.
single
Oh, yeah.
one to
Yeah.
probably go through that tasting profile process.
Oh, right. Like now that they're on, and I'll just say 7. Again, I can't recall if this is 6, 7. We're either at 6 or 7. I'm pretty sure as far as the number of hop records, but I can't imagine that they wouldn't.
Talking about later, grinding gears.
Oh, jeez.
Hop record.
So
Hop record?
I had record. Yes.
I'll have that recording hop.
The record. So I only had a couple of other beer notes, not specific to hop record. So we can go over all of the beer talk now,
Do it.
and then we'll bust into the record part of the podcast.
Okay.
16-ounce cans of Voss are coming. So all of you that like Voss but think 12 ounces isn't enough,
Is 12 ounces really enough?
It's
No.
never enough.
It's not
Is
enough.
16 ounces enough? Sometimes.
No.
Not with Voss.
No.
With some other beers, 16 ounces is enough. And apparently, Bush Apple is the new big thing. So if you see 30 racks of Bush Apple out there, you need to snag those up. Those are in high demand. Cellar the shit out of them because they get better with age, as all Bush products do. I think Marco
What?
almost spit out his beer with that one.
Oh my goodness.
And I think that
Yeah, we do
that
a
based
vertical
on-
of Bush Apple.
every
vertical.
year. And it did sound like Bush Apple is going to be the next guest tap at Sonder Brewing. At least I got that out of the conversation.
Yeah.
And their thrill of that beer. So keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out. Bush apple.
It'll be right next to Kenosha Kicker.
Yep.
Get a sample of each one. Try it out. Which apple's your favorite?
It'll be Bush apple.
It's got to be.
It's gotta be. Come on now. Let's see. Record talk.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Record labels, record shops. So Terry and Alex, I will say, Terry has become one of my top favorite guests on Sonder Stories.
Same. Ditto.
In the same category as Olivia from Kings Island.
Where's she been?
I don't know. Well, I guess it's kind of the off season for Kings Island, so I don't know.
Yeah, but that's when they're planning stuff.
This is true.
I mean, that's got to be when stuff is
So Danny and Justin, get Olivia back on the show because we need to know what Kings Island is planning for the next couple seasons of Kings Island, because we know that she knows, and she'll tell you so you know, and then you can tell us so that we know, you know? Yeah. Yeah, and then DH from Country Boy, he is another one of my top favorite Sonder guests of all time.
I mean, come on now.
No, let's get Terry and DH and Olivia in a room together.
Ooh.
Justin and Danny just have to laugh in the background.
That's
they will
be fun.
The most beautiful laugh track you will ever hear, and just have them discuss anything.
You get Justin
anything.
And then you get Danny with the
So awesome. So yeah, Coal Mine Records was started in 2007. Terry was in a polka band called Soundscape, and they needed a record label, or they were ready to release their own music.
Yep.
And they needed a label. And Terry just said, well, shit, why don't I just start one?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to market ourselves out, I will just start a record label, and Coal Mine Records was born.
That's how you become an entrepreneur, folks, is that you say, hey, why don't we do something? And you're like, well, I guess I'll just go out and do it.
So would that make Terry a hustler?
Hustler, baby.
Nice. Very nice. And then from the record label came the birth of the physical store. They talked a lot about Plaid Room, which I believe Alex is the manager of Plaid Room Records in Loveland. They do an amazing amount of online sales, it sounded like. And yeah, I mean, I'm aware of Everybody's Records and some of the, north side, the key, I don't call them key. Well, I guess what I'll say is I was not aware that there was a record store out in Loveland, and now I know. And I think that would be fun. My mom still likes to buy records every now and then. She'll listen to them, and then once she's kind of ready to move on to other artists, she'll sell them back to half-price books or whatever. So maybe new location to hang out with mom at.
That sounds like a great idea. I did want to piggyback off that half-price books thing. It's been a while since I've been to a half-price books, but I do remember they had comic books and vinyl. I remember the last time I was in a half-price books.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the other thing they talked about is the experience at a record store.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
My mom blames me to this day for losing or thinks I stole the single version of Right Said Fred, I'm Too Sexy.
Well, why'd you do that?
Okay, but it was mine. It was mine.
Oh, so how did you steal your own copy?
No, it was
that doesn't
mine.
Make sense. Well,
it was mine,
well,
and she said she thought I don't know where this parental figure thinks that this is theirs when it was mine, but nonetheless,
who bought it?
But when you buy something and you give it to somebody, it's theirs, right? And so maybe what I should do is find a vinyl version of this, maybe 45 or something, and send it to her. And just
that
say,
would be awesome.
Hey, find somewhere to play this.
That would be amazing. I think you should do that.
Mom.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
Appreciate you. Apparently, social media ads work, according to that little
That's
snippet
what they
of
said.
one. Yeah, so
that's what they said. So get ready. Here we come.
I'm going to be hitting that boost button. So Facebook, beware. You are going to start seeing Truth Beer Pod posts all over the place. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool that when they were getting started, 2007 is when Coal Mine, was kind of founded. It was the very beginning, kind of through that era of Facebook. So it was you're in Ohio. Let's, hope that you see this ad for a record shop, a record label in Loveland. And
Justin told a pretty cool story about how, the kid was just born and, Justin was really just pulling his hair out and needing to get out of the house and He's like, I saw it, I had this ad for Coal Mine Records, and he's like, I need to get out and get in my zone.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I got to get the F out of here. And he just went there and just, totally just vegged out on records and was totally chill.
They gave him a can of beer and said, help yourself.
Yeah. I mean, and so he spent the majority of the day there just, chilling, being in his own space.
He said that's where he bought his first Weird Al Yankovic record.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd known about Weird Al for a long time, but didn't realize he was in vinyl format, and went, you know what, records are cool. And that's kind of where he got into it.
He's coming to town.
I saw, yeah.
Yeah. I bet Justin will be there.
Probably.
Primo seats.
Oh, God, yeah. Front row, all the way up. I met Weird Al once at a book signing. His hair is amazing. Absolutely amazing. It is not as good as yours.
Oh, thank you.
But it's still pretty amazing.
Like very well conditioned.
Well conditioned. The product that he uses in it to keep those curls.
Oh yeah.
Like separated, and just it's ridiculous.
Utmost respect for him as a musician.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean,
he is
amazing.
incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Incredible.
So,
Justin, if you're going, let us know. I mean, we might join you.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Get like a party bus or something.
Oh yeah, with wine.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, he's going to bring some Voss just because, I mean, when
it's in 16-ounce
16-ounce cans.
You got
to do it. Got to do it.
And plus, Voss is a nice beer because you can drink a lot of it. Like, you can drink it in quantity.
Right.
And you're not going to get too fucked up too quickly.
Yeah.
Where, if they brought record hop, you have to pace yourself.
Yeah, it's a little pacing.
It's not as free drinking as Voss would be. So both of them are great. Both of them have their place. But when we do the party bus down to the Weird Al concert, Voss is probably going to be the way to go.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds good. What other notes do you have there, Julia?
That's all that I had. It was a really fun episode as far as insight into the record label, record shop, online record shop.
Yeah, they
world.
They do go into a little bit of the behind the curtain on sales of this, sales of that, the way this percentage goes and that percentage goes. It's a really cool, informative interview or a discussion. I don't want to call it an interview. It wasn't an interrogation or anything. It's not like the Spanish Inquisition. But
although we have no idea, since it wasn't a video format, they could have been pointing guns at people, saying you're going to have a conversation with us and you're going to like it, or
pointing bottles of like
Bush Apple,
overcarbonated saisons that they're threatening to open the cork and spray it at them. But yeah, it
was cool. It was very cool.
If you have an interest in vinyl, I think you would enjoy the podcast.
Agreed.
If you are a person who has a slight interest in vinyl, I think the majority of it you would find pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But they do get a little deep into some of the. If you're a mainstream music person, just know that they're just going to go off the beaten path.
Yeah.
With some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not a warning. It's just even if you're not into vinyl, but you like sort of music off the beaten path, you may pick up on what they're talking about, or
like holographic cabbage,
as like older people would say, "Are you picking up what I'm putting down?"
Yeah.
But anyway, fun. Go listen. You can stop at any time. You can fast forward. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, if you see Record Hop, Volume, whatever the most recent one is, look for I'm sure that they probably have it on the label that's a collaboration with Yakima Chief Hop Farm. Pick some up, give it a try, see what you think about this latest version, and keep an eye on their social media as well, because this was their first record swap day. I highly doubt it will be the last. As music-centric as these guys are, I cannot imagine that they will not try to bring this back again in the future. That's all I got.
Yeah. And
cool.
Thank you, Macy. I mean, gosh, they just, God, I don't know how they got her to be so quiet.
Macy and Mitch.
And Mitch.
The M's, yeah.
Mitch was like Nicolas Cage in Willy's Wonderland.
The porno?
Know. That's not a porno.
It sounds like a porno.
I know, but it's a movie. Are
there bees in it? Like the bees?
Not bees.
Okay.
Not bees. Long story short, Nicolas Cage says 0 words in Willy's Wonderland. And it was the worst thing I've seen in probably since the Iraq War. Yeah.
Oh, and remember, nothing and nobody are cool. You're not cool. The things you like aren't cool. Nothing is cool.
Yeah, that was a quote, and I understand where that quote was coming from.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I totally get it.
It is not a dig. It is not an insult. It is basically what one person likes, another person doesn't, and there is nothing wrong with either person's view.
And Macy used one of the terms I've used before on this show, which is I'm not going to yuck somebody else's yum, and that's essentially what that quote gets down to is like it. Don't be a snob. Don't be pretentious. I mean, we're all people and we all like different things. And, if you like buying, farts in jars, that's up to you. And I'm not here to tell you not to. And by the way, wait for the new Truth Beer and Consequences store where there will be jars for sale. I'm not going to tell you yet what's going to be in them, but there will be jars for sale. As well as on that list, to bring it back full circle, on that list of things that we want to accomplish this year, shirts. Along with those farts in jars. Oh, damn it, I said farts in jars. Maybe they're farts, maybe they're not. But anyways.
To be determined.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I had for Sonder stories. So I think that we're both pretty close to needing refills on our beers. So is there anything else you wanted to wrap up with before we take a quick break and then move on to shipped beers?
No, let's go. Let's take that break, and thank you, everyone, and stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Truth Beer and Consequences. Thank you for taking the moment to, take a break and then come back with us. We have new beers, and we're going to talk about another podcast.
Yeah.
Julia, you drinking?
I, as well as you, we're twinning again.
Twinning.
We are drinking 18th Street Brewery's UnCrushable 3. Or is
UnCrushable, it's the 3 because it's the 3-year anniversary
for
Adina.
Yep. So it is their anniversary beer. I have seen this plenty of times. This is actually the first time that I've had it, though. I am ashamed to say. Yeah, I
think I've had it on the show twice.
You did.
Yeah.
You did. I think the reason that I haven't had it is I am terrible at remembering to check the cooler here at BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery. There are such amazing beers in there, and I think that for whatever reason, I forget about it because I like draft beer, and I missed on it.
What we did in our break is we left it up to our producer. So producer Kenny
shout out Kenny.
Producer Kenny actually produced that for us.
He did, because you said, I need another beer, and I said I do too, and because like, what do you want? And I said, I honestly have no idea. I've been here enough that you know what I typically pick, which is I'll try anything.
Right.
Wasn't really feeling a sour tonight, so I said just maybe not a sour.
Right.
And I
might mess up the Taco
away.
Bell later or something.
It could. I think Josh actually already picked dinner.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we had an absolutely wonderful conversation on my drive over here after work. And he was dying. He said that he is dying. He is starving to death, and it's terrible. And I said, well, you still have to wait a couple hours before I'm home. And he goes, I'm heading towards a light, a bright blue and yellow light that I see in the sky. And I said, okay, so I'll bring him Skyline. So dinner is decided. And then he told me that the only thing to bring him back from the verge of death would be a bag of chips.
Oh, yeah. BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery, if you don't have enough reasons to come down here,
chips.
They have some really fantastic chips while you're sitting here having your fun and having your drinks. They have a great selection of little snacky snacks.
Yes, an entire bag of chips may have been consumed in between our main episode last week with Josh and the 0.5 that we did with Josh.
It was a whole bag.
They were good. It was an entire bag. And I think I had like 2 of them. And then I walked away and I came back and it was gone.
Sorry.
There is nothing better than a good bag of chips. So I have no issue with it. But yeah, so.
I like IPA.
As do I. Very, very good. I'm sad that I didn't try it sooner. Because I don't think they sell 4-packs of it. I'll have to go shopping after this.
I think they're all out. I mean, other than maybe Kenny's got another can or 2 in the back.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll let him save that for other patrons that he feels are deserving of this beverage.
Yeah, and shout out to Michael from Adina. Thank you for your comments on the to bring it back to the episode that we had. we did a whole 0.5 basically about Michael from Medina.
Michael, yeah.
And he did communicate. Yeah, he's a great guy, and he did communicate to me about anyone who listened to that show. Julie's like, I don't think he remembers me. Well, guess what? He does. He does remember you, and he remembered the brewery you were at, and
that's awesome.
He appreciated the kind comments, the shout out, and the whole episode basically dedicated around him as a person. And I think in the future he may grace us with his presence.
I would love that.
Yeah, I would too. I would too.
And for our listeners, that's what our 0.5 episodes are about, whether it be the really short, between 2 and 5 minute episodes that we do that are just about the beer events happening in Cincinnati, or if it's something tied to the actual episode that we're doing, it'll be the episode 0.5. So this particular one, if we do a 0.5, will be 25.5, because we know that not everyone wants to hear us ramble on about Narrow Path or Michael from Medina or God knows what else, what other, trails through the weeds we end up going through. But when I'm editing them, a lot of times I'll think, this is such a great conversation, Chris from Shift Beers. That was one of those things that it was such a good conversation. I didn't want to just cut it because it didn't fit into the podcast talk. So we make it their own mini episodes. So that's what those are all about. So we would love for you to listen to them because we enjoyed the conversations that took place that led to the 0.5s. But if all you want to hear is us talk about Cincinnati Craft Beer Podcast, main episode is where we reside. So
So what of course, as we talked at the top of the show, we're gonna talk about Shift Beers now and what grinds their gears. So Shift Beers put out on social media a call to action. They wanted everyone to submit what grinds their gears. What do you want to see in craft beer 2022? What do you want to see go away in craft beer 2022? And the team brought together beers that sort of mirrored or echoed their thoughts or visions, wishes, what may be.
Now, I thought that when they did the kind of call, like you said, the call to action, what do you like, what do you don't like, what do you want to see go away, I thought some of those were going to be tied into the episode. You and I had very similar things that we wanted to see go away and happen in 2022 in the beer industry. They didn't mention either of them at all. So I'm not sure if they actually wanted to talk about what their audience suggested or if it was more of that would help get their own ideas flowing for, oh, yeah, I never thought about this.
Right.
So, but I'll take it personally. I'll take it as an attack on me and my opinion that they didn't mention the fact that I want allergens to be listed on every single beer label and in beer description in 2022.
Yeah,
that's a personal attack that they didn't mention that at all.
Yeah, well, I think what they did was they tried to give us actually a compliment. Sure. I'm not calling it a backhanded compliment because it was honest. They were very thankful for the gift package that Truth Beer and Consequences sent them. Yeah. Even though, it was you and
it was from us.
Okay. Thank you.
Even though you kind of, as is typical when and this is going to sound weird, but you know what I'm saying, when the quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes for those of you that aren't part of the Patreon Platinum level live stream, air quotes, the, couple gift, normally the guy has no idea what is actually happening in any respect.
Yeah. So I knew there was a gift, and I truly appreciated your intention and your execution, and they
seemed to like it,
and that was great. So, and so they talk about that in the episode, which is great. And even Chris brought his regular Chris. It was like, God, yeah. Only 2 cans? It's like, that was funny.
Okay, so
that was funny.
Let me defend
thought that was
myself.
Hilarious.
Let me defend myself on that one, even though it should not need to be defended. Here's my soapbox. I'm going to stand on it.
Okay.
They were talking about.
So what does that make you? So is a typical soapbox
makes me about 5'4".
Okay.
5'4",
Fair enough.
5'5".
So then I'm like, what, 5'6" or 5'7" on a soapbox?
You've still got an inch or two on me. Hey yo.
Hey. Hey, when's your birthday? What are we doing on our birthday, Julia?
Oh my God, we're probably gonna be.
It's coming up.
Drunk.
It'll be here before we know it.
I'm telling you, we have got to do something big.
God, for any new listeners, that listen, just wait. I'm not even gonna. So, for all of you that have been around from the beginning, you know what we're talking about. For those of you who have just joined us, you're gonna have to wait.
Yes.
You're gonna have to wait to understand what that joke means.
Yes. All right. So the reason that I
Soapbox.
gave them.
You're 6?
5, 4, 5, 5.
Okay,
on the
all right, soapbox. So
you know,
get on it and let's
depends
go.
on if I'm wearing my heels while I'm stepping on the soapbox.
All right.
So they were complaining about how, like with their beer fridge, with the beers that they get for shift beers, they can't just do single cans because there are 4 of them. So say you have a 12-ounce can, and they're trying to share that beer with everyone to try it.
Yeah.
I've had a beer, so I have no excuses for my lack of English right now.
No, that's fine. You're good.
So instead of them just having, I had 2 16-ounce cans of a Wolf's Ridge beer that I thought they would enjoy.
Yeah.
Or even if they didn't, just something for them to try. But I'm like, if they just have a 16-ounce can, that's 4 ounces for each of them. But I
Sure.
wanted to make sure that they had enough to actually drink, to get a good idea of how it tasted. Or if they had guests on that show, I don't
totally
know.
got your logic.
Yeah, so I'm like, here are 2 cans of this beer so that you all have enough to drink to experience the beverage.
Right.
And they're like,
Yeah, you're not
same
providing
here.
their shift beers.
No, hell no.
This was
30 rack of Bush Apple, that's on them.
But and it sounded like they were waiting for the ice.
They probably were, but it's Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm not an asshole most of the time.
No, you're not. Not at all. No, you're not. If the Christmas package would have come from me, you'd have been iced without a doubt.
Yeah. Hands down. Yeah.
But that
yes.
would have required preparation, and we all know anybody who's been around Truth Beer and Consequences. That's not how I roll.
Marco doesn't do the prep work.
No, the
for this show.
prepping.
Not at all.
No. Don't.
So one of the things that grinds my gears.
Let's go.
Is when
The lack of my preparation.
Is when podcasts that we recap, that I feel like are friends with. They get They get a gift out of the kindness of my heart. Like, hey, I think you might like this beer, even if you don't. Again, our hearts. And they're just going, only 2 cans.
Yeah.
That lack of just shut up and be grateful, that grinds my gears.
I know you can pay for Patreon. You can pay for Chris to murder somebody.
Yes. Would that?
I wonder if Joe Ludwig has that sort of Patreon sort of thing.
Well, that was
because he's kind of a big guy.
He is.
He's kind of a big guy. I could see.
I look up to him, quite literally. Yeah,
and I could see where if that's something that Craft Parenting Pod wanted to get into, like they could get into the cleaner game.
So that brings up another good question for that $4.99 Patreon tier level.
Yeah.
That perk, as I will call it.
The perk.
Are the other members of the podcast excluded?
Well,
you know what I mean. Could you say?
Well, what was Chris's?
To eliminate the button.
What was Chris's definition? It was like it's one person.
It's one person, but they never said that because you're paying Shift Beers that money. Chris is part of Shift Beers. You're paying that entity that money.
Yeah.
You're supporting the entity. Can that money to that entity be used to take out one of the members of said entity?
Well, but that's why I'm saying. I mean, we could maybe pay Joe.
I see.
That's what I was thinking about. Maybe
I see
Joe.
where you're going with
He's
your
like,
logic.
and so I mean, you never know because he's in his, hey, this is Joe, and this is Craft Parenting Pod, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host.
That is not how he said.
Caroline.
That's
and
not
then,
it.
and I mean, I'm just saying it's innocent, right? I'm just saying it's innocent.
Yeah.
But
I'm
really,
like, that is not how Joe
number is
talks.
This is Joe, and
There
I'm
we
gonna
go. I'm gonna jump and dance on your ass.
for $4.99. I'm gonna take out whoever you need to be taken out. You know, that could be the case. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. Or maybe he's just a gentle giant. I mean,
Sure.
could be.
Could be. All right, let's get back to recapping shift beers.
Okay,
That's what
we
we're here
can.
for. So one of the first things that I want to call out, now that we're
among other things.
So we had talked
like
about
drinking.
going into the weeds. I mean, there you go. That did have to do with the show. They
Yeah,
talked
for
about
sure.
the Christmas present near the end of the show.
Yeah. They did.
So they did this in last week's episode show notes, and I completely forgot to mention it, so that is my bad. But last week and this week, they listed all the beers that they drank in the show notes, which was phenomenal for me because I'm starting to write down, okay, what are they drinking? Because you know what's going to happen. 3 months from now, they're going to say, hey, didn't we have a beer from Wolf's Ridge on the show? Julia, we're calling you out because you take notes. Now they can just search their own show notes.
They've done
and
that.
know.
I mean, that's what they
it's
do.
been there. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm just the note taker for all the podcasts. I mean, side job of producer. Hey, Nim, if you need a producer for any of your stuff, let me know. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they list the beers that they drink in the show notes, which is awesome. Again, I've noticed this the past 2 episodes. I just completely forgot last week, so I'll take ownership on that. So it was the normal gang: Josh, Chris, Beth, and that button guy. What's his name?
B. Ryan.
B. Ryan. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Beth, when they were talking about the show, she said the word PowerPoint. I thought they were called slide decks these days.
I have no idea about that, but Beth rules, man.
Oh
I mean,
my God, she is awesome.
She is so awesome. I mean,
she
was
awesome.
not the first burp, but she was one of the first burps out there. And go ahead.
I part of me thinks that, you know how they were cutting out burps to make it a burp less episode? I am now questioning the validity of the burps in this episode because there were a lot of them and there wasn't nearly as much reaction to them. Like some of them there were like, oh, I bet that felt good. I bet that, whatever. So now I'm starting to wonder, are all the burps genuinely happening during the episode?
Do they have
or do they now
burp
have
button?
buttons? Exactly.
Burp buttons. I'd say
if they could create a Brian out of a
total
burp, why not a
fictional
burp?
character.
Yeah. So as much awesomeness as Beth is,
She is.
Beth, I'm questioning the validity of some of the burps here.
Come on the pod and speak up or burp up, whatever. That is an interesting dynamic when you have all the ladies on at this Truth Beer Pod, all women.
Yes,
Truth Beer Pod.
Yeah.
Burps, no burps.
Whatever you want to do.
I'm not involved. You and the ladies are involved.
No. I'm not saying you as in you, Marco. I'm saying you as in the ladies. I'm using the global you.
Yes, the global
me,
you.
I am not normally, I'm just not a loud burper. Like, it just normally isn't a thing. So
no,
for
but
me,
if we
I
were
probably
keeping
would.
count, what if the men were keeping count? What if? Okay, so but you need to decide ahead of the show.
Right.
Is this
burp-free zone or is it? I mean,
yeah?
again,
Are we counting?
What I would want to say is we're not going to recap our own show and do a burp count on our own show. That's just not. To me, that needs to stay a Shift Beers thing.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
But if the ladies on the show want to belch into the mics, go for it. I have no issue with that whatsoever.
I don't either.
Yeah. So yeah, Beth, I don't know if it's slide decks or PowerPoints anymore because the vernacular has changed over the years when it comes to presentations.
I'm not in that world.
Mm-hmm.
You as more of, in your given field or in that world.
Tends to
I don't
play
know
around
what
with that
the
more.
slide decks, PowerPoints. It's not my jam, but yeah, I totally get that.
Speaking of Beth's awesomeness, did you notice that Beth had a twisted tea tip because Josh
She
is slacking? She absolutely did. And let me see if I can actually read my own handwriting.
Yeah,
here
give it to us,
because,
Julia.
good
I mean, when
God.
you read your own handwriting, my handwriting is terrible. Hold on, I'm going to do my Charles Barkley impression.
Oh, here we go.
Terrible.
I thought Charles Barkley himself was sitting across the table from me with that.
I know.
That is gorgeous.
I know.
So Beth's twisted tea tip for episode 64 of Shift Beers is, if you think tomorrow's going to suck, just drink anyway.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love this tip too because have you ever just been?
Never have I ever.
Have you ever just been? I mean, totally fine, totally sober, wake up the next day, and you are just over the porcelain god, just, doing your thing. And you're like, I totally wasted
an opportunity.
It's like if I was going to wake up and,
not even that.
hurl chunks, it's like I should have just went ahead and I'm not even say imbibe until the point where you would hurl chunks. I'm just saying you miss an opportunity to feel good and then wake up and you were going to feel bad anyway. It's
but not only, and to me, that twisted tea tip from Beth kind of even goes farther than just.
Well, give us the insight.
So Beth, she got her booster shot. Hopefully she's cool with me saying that, but she mentioned it on their podcast, so it's out in the world anyway.
Yeah, she's boosted.
So she knew that she would probably not be feeling 100% the next day. So she's like, "Fuck it, I'm going to keep drinking because if I'm going to feel right, exactly."
No, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the same thing. And I get my booster shot, I'm going to be like, "Fuck it, YOLO," and I'll probably feel terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I had my back hurt and I had a headache for like 12 hours.
You need a backiotomy?
And then that was it. I needed a backiotomy.
Backiotomy.
So, but I think that twisted tea tip goes even farther than that. Like if you know that the next day is going to suck, maybe it's a whole bunch of meetings that you don't want to have. Maybe it's you have an event, family event or I don't know, whatever. Something that you're like, tomorrow is going to suck anyway. Not sick-wise, not because you're pre-planning on being ill, but you're like, tomorrow is going to suck. I might as well be hungover and just go all in.
Could Dr. Phil get that tip? If you're going to be feeling terrible already, you could just imbibe and then feel terrible so you don't waste that terrible. Does that make sense, everybody? Are you understanding what I'm saying?
That was spectacular.
Oh shit. Producer Kenny's producing.
There are bottles being brought out and goblets.
Producer Kenny's producing. We
need to start chugging these beers, depending on who he's producing those for.
I think those are beers that I brought for us.
Oh shit!
Months ago, and Kenny's like, "I need to get this out of the fucking cooler."
Oh, those are the Yingling Hershey's that I said I hadn't tried yet.
Yeah, the Hershey squirts.
Oh goddamn!
Kenny's like, "Yeah."
So, if you do decide to support Truth Beer and Podsequences by bringing us beers to BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery and say that they are for the Truth Beer Podsequences team, we'll hopefully the producers will not forget about them and we won't forget that.
Kenny's coming.
Oh my God!
Here we go.
Service too.
We got table service from Kenny.
Oh man!
Kenny's like, "Can you please get this out of my refrigerator, please?"
It's like, you are taking up all of my precious cooler space.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you, Kenny.
when your producer says, "Thank you for drinking that,"
that's not a good thing.
It's like, oh goddamn,
that's not a good thing. Oh my God.
Shit.
All right, so this is the which one? I'll do both.
Shit.
And then
shit.
I think Lee, you're awesome.
He's awesome.
You're awesome.
and please continue to communicate with Truth Beer and Podsequences whenever you have a strain of consciousness.
After you've had beers, we love it.
We truly appreciate it.
Yes.
We catch you on the pod soon, and also we did promise a outside of podcast experience. So
yes.
At some point we should have put that down on the list.
On the list.
At some point we'll do a out of podcast experience with Lee.
Let's speak this into existence.
Okay, fair.
Lee, Marco, and I, and our respective significant others, and whoever else, whatever, because I don't want to, whatever. OTR Stillhouse. I know that's in Lee's neck of the woods. I know, Marco, that's a bit of a haul for you. It's not as much of a haul for me, but that's a place that you and I both want to check out.
I do.
I think that might be a good location. I know that Lee has mentioned he wants to hit up Westside Brewing on one of their dog-friendly Wednesdays with his Great Dane, which would be easy for me to get to, but let's let's pick a date. Let's actually try to make this happen sometime before our birthday.
Okay.
Before next
no, that's
quarter.
a good,
I mean,
no,
honestly,
no,
let's try
that's
to.
yeah. That's a fair.
Because we're all busy.
Goal.
We all have Let's so Lee, sometime before it gets warm again.
Yeah.
Let's try to do this. All right. Shift beers. Let's actually, screw shift beers because they kind of shat all over my only 2 cans of beer. Let's take a sip of this Yingling Hershey
Yang-a-lang.
porter.
Let's go.
Let's
All right, so what we have is producer Kenny poured Yingling chocolate porter, the Hershey's chocolate porter for us.
That's good.
We toasted. Julia tasted. I'm gonna go ahead and go in for it.
Yeah. So what I tasted is a very good, like Yingling, as far as their just base lager is always very good. It's just a very stable beer, if that makes sense. Like it's very good. This is a good porter. I
like the body of the beer is very lager-like in the sense that it's not heavy. It's not heavy.
Yeah.
But the chocolate is...
It comes through.
It definitely comes through. There is easy drinking chocolate beer. For sure.
Yeah, this and you know what? This actually leads us really nicely into some of the things that grinds Shift Beers' gears. I don't know. That's kind of tricky to say.
Sure.
That grinds the gears of the Shift Beers team. This is really good. It is a porter. It is not thick and heavy and syrupy, kind of like you would get from a stout with chocolate in it. It is a great porter. I say thin in a good way.
Yes, I agree.
That chocolate definitely comes through on the end, but it's not overly done. It's not something where you drink this and all you think is, I'm drinking a chocolate bar.
Right.
It's a beautiful meld of that nice, smoky is not the right word for the porter, but that nice kind of roastiness of a porter, the sweetness of more milk chocolate than dark chocolate, I would say.
Yes, it is.
But it's not overly done.
It is.
So believe it or not, we're going to tie this into this episode of Shift Beers. One of the things that grinds their gears are like 5 billion adjuncts in stouts. And they even brought up Epic's Naked Baptist. It is their base variant, which I actually found a bottle of.
Ooh.
I have a bottle. I need to bring that in for us because they have said that it is absolutely amazing. But I agree with them. Anymore, you can't just get good base stout. Everything has a bunch of sweet stuff, peanut butter, marshmallows, chocolate, which I like on occasion in its place, but that's not the only thing that I want to see on shelves when I look for a stout or even a porter, something that's designed to be a little bit lighter.
Agreed. But for me, with wanting to just get rid of lactose in beer altogether,
Does chocolate in that fit into that category?
Yeah, but it's probably chocolate flavoring.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
Maybe it is chocolate, maybe it's not. I would doubt that it is. It's probably flavoring, but it tastes exactly like Hershey's chocolate.
It does.
And it's very, very good. And
thank you for bringing this. I'm sorry that we forgot about it, but thank you very much for bringing this.
It's months and months.
It's been a very long time.
Months and months and months and months. Anyways, but I totally agree with that expression, that sentiment. And what I would say is the lactose comes even before the end because the lactose comes in the brewing process, in the boil kettle. I mean, you put the lactose in there. And so there's a dry stout and then a milk stout. And if you're making a milk stout, that's fine. The rail necessarily, or what grinds their gears, is just a bunch of this and this and this and this and this, which I totally get. What I'd like to see is a little more return to dry stout. Now, Baptist could be a dry stout in a barrel. Could be. And that's great. And what I'd like to see is an expression of that when everybody goes to do a barrel-aged stout and then variants. It's like, okay, then go ahead and do your thing, because you can give the perception of sweetness without adding the lactose if you don't add the lactose in the brewing process. Put whatever you want in, I can't drink it anyway.
Which, I mean, that touches on kind of two of the things that they say grind their gears, both the overly adjuncted stouts, which, you get a stout anymore, and it always has 37 additional ingredients. It has cereal and chocolate and peanut butter and mayonnaise and God knows what else thrown into it. You can't just get, and they even said there's nothing wrong with a stout with maybe one or two adjuncts. A peanut butter, so there is nothing wrong with that. That's not where their issue is. The issue is with, and I'll kind of tie these two together, stouts and IPAs. So stouts with 5 million adjuncts and IPAs with 5 million hops added. Like Brian even said, and I'm sure that you can kind of understand this more than I do, at a certain point, adding 15 different kinds of hops into an IPA, at some point it doesn't matter anymore.
Well, it's... Okay, so, I mean, with the adjuncts, totally get it. Now, with the hops, there's a little bit more of a ratio scenario, right? So, Butt and Brian was talking about, 1 to 3 pounds per barrel, 3 pounds max, and I would agree with that. Like, if you're getting 3 pounds, I'm not per barrel. I don't know if you need to go that high. But the point is, I mean, if you have 15 hops, that's totally different. Like with hops, you're looking for drivers and passengers, and
which
you're
is what
looking.
Brian said, like complementary hops. Is that the same thing?
Right.
Okay, cool.
And so you're looking for drivers and passengers and things that go well together. You get to a point where that all gets muddled and messy and. Nothing stands out bright or sharp or pronounced. And I want to use different adjectives because maybe you don't want bitter. Maybe you don't want, you want a particular profile and it's balanced. And he was on point when he was talking about, that sort of scenario. And I understand where he was coming from with, hey, this is my tried and true, bittering expression. That the way he explained it is truly how
it's great,
at least we go about it from our perspective.
The more you continue to add to these beers, the harder it is to figure out for a consumer, at least to me, what it is you may not like about it. So you might write off an entire style, or you might write off an entire hop, because that experience with it hasn't been one that you have found to be something you want to reproduce the next time you go out to have a beer.
So, interestingly, the place I brew beer at used the experimental version of Sabro before it actually got named Sabro.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And the way we used it was very singularly. I'm not going to call it single hop, but there was a bittering edition.
Okay.
And then that was the Whirlpool and then dry hop edition.
Okay.
Actually, one of my favorite beers that we made, back when I started. It was a really fantastic expression of the hop and beer. It was very delicious. I think that with this is what we're talking about with creativity and expression, and what they're saying is don't do with adjuncts, don't do too many, and with hops, don't do too many. And
I mean, on occasion, I think it's fine. Like if every now and then you see a beer that has 15 hops or 30 different adjuncts, that's fine. But when that's all you see on the shelves anymore, that's when I agree with them. It's too much. And you're just like,
no,
can I just get a clean IPA? Can I just get something that isn't?
No, it's too much, and that's not the way that I think a lot of breweries approach things. A bittering expression or no bittering expression, and with given the way that you can manipulate temperature and manipulate, hop timing and all these other things. Some breweries aren't even adding bittering hops. It's just time, temperature, and then manipulating that, and then adding hops, and then maybe dry hopping later. And there's a lot into this from a brewing aspect. But I don't think anybody's adding 15 hops to anything, and that's an exaggeration to say. Look, don't get too muddled, right? Just don't get too muddled. Give us an expression and let us understand the expression.
Yes, agreed. And that does also tie into another thing that they don't like are, the $20 plus 4-packs out there, because a lot of that, the more hops you add, stuff like that, drives up the cost. Some of it is exclusivity.
Well,
if it's something that you're not going to get a lot of in the area, that'll drive the price up.
Right.
But when all of a sudden everything is...
Well, you could put Cascade in everything and not have to charge $20 a 4-pack. But
sometimes it's justified. Like, I'm not saying that. Like, I've had a couple of 4-packs from, I think it was Equilibrium, that were like $25 or $26, and the beers were phenomenal. I had no issue whatsoever with that.
I don't think anybody goes into making a beer thinking it's going to be a subpar beer. But what I think is that with hard to get or small availability hops for small breweries, the price for spot buying is enormous. And if you're stuck to the idea of getting these hops to make this beer, then that certainly has an impact in the price, right?
Oh, yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, getting, I don't know, Strata. And I don't know if it's regularly priced or not regular. Let's say I want to make a beer with Strata, and you go out and try and spot buy it, and it's like, yeah, you can get 20 pounds or 40-pound minimum at, I don't know, $40 a pound. It's ridiculous. It's like ridiculous. But you're tied to making that beer.
Sure.
Then there is a cost, to go out to the consumer.
Sure, and I'm not discounting that. I guess maybe my thought is more of the overly hyped just for the hype. I brought up like Hop Slam,
I don't know why. I guess some breweries would, but I don't know why you would want to continue with that. I mean, because breweries are so able to pivot, right? I mean, if that's the case, well then why don't you just do something else? I mean, why don't you flip and do more what's in your figure something else out in your wheelhouse, in your price point. I mean, why do you, and then especially if it's going to be a one-off or experimental, that to me doesn't justify a full run of something of that nature.
Right. No, that makes sense. So moving on to things that, because they did do a couple things that they liked, that they wanted to see more of in 2022, not as much as the things that grind their gears. Beth wanted to see more unique packaging, which I agree with. I think that that's fun, and that would lead to a unique beer packaging too that you could be on as well, which the beer in different packaging episode that you were on is probably one of my favorites. Not that I'm biased or anything, but so much fun on that one. Josh wanted to see more just solid IPAs, things that aren't. And again, if you're listening, I'm sure you'll understand what I'm saying. There's nothing overly special about them. They don't have the 15 different hops. They don't have the, they weren't brewed in a mountain stream on top of Everest and blah, blah, blah. They're just solid, well-priced, accessible beers. And they also, what I thought was very interesting.
What he wants clean, clear IPAs, no lactose. Give me what you got. More from a slightly bitter standpoint,
Sure.
but he'll take tropical as a flavor.
Sure, yeah.
But I don't want your milkshake whatnotness. I mean, give me a
An
classically
IPA,
brewed IPA, and I love that. I mean,
do too.
I want more of it, and I think actually the trend is to bring more of that back.
I mean, I will say that like New England's were kind of my gateway into IPAs because they are easy to drink. Milkshake IPAs, they're sweet. They are easy to drink for someone that's still trying to figure out hops and bitterness and all that.
Yeah.
But anymore, when I go somewhere and all I see are milkshakes and sweet this and New England that, I'm like, I don't want it. That's why when I saw, the Masthead IPA that we drank first, the Lost Case Scenario, and it was described as just an IPA, nothing special.
Spot on.
And when Kenny poured it and it was clear, I'm like, this is what I am
clear,
ready for.
Head was perfect.
Crisp. It was
Head
great.
retention was perfect.
It
crisp,
was
really
wonderful.
good.
Yeah,
really good.
One of the things that they mentioned they wanted to see more of that I was kind of surprised that they said, based on some posts that some of them may or may not have made on their own social media accounts, there is not enough intellectual property theft on these labels nowadays. They want to see more parodies of intellectual property on beer cans.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting take. And
It was. I was kind of surprised by it.
What I would say is that I think a lot of places hold a C&D as a badge of honor.
True, yeah. Why hasn't there been a C&D, like one of the C&Ds that maybe they've gotten put on a beer can? That would be an amazing label, would it not?
It would be. I agree. I mean, just changing your label to the C&D notice, I mean, that's like
like you said, that's a badge of honor.
Move.
That's a statement. Like,
it's a bold move, Cotton.
Guys, we've made it. They noticed us, and we have the proof that they noticed us. So they kind of want to see more of that in 2022, and I think that judging by what we've seen,
get a C&D from Monster Energy drink.
That would be amazing. I'm still waiting for. There was also a lot of Batman talk in this episode.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of Batman talk the episode, and you didn't finish the episode, and you were moved to send social media responses. Julia, explain your Batman responsiveness.
So this goes back multiple episodes to where there was a tweet, and I don't remember who initially made the tweet, but someone on the Twitter sphere, in the Twitterverse. So this is not my statement, but it is one that I feel in my bones.
Okay.
Nothing makes you feel, and I'm paraphrasing, nothing makes you feel more like a ghost than listening to a podcast where there's a piece of trivia that you know the answer to that they don't.
Okay.
So you're screaming at, you're screaming in your car, you're screaming at your, in your headphones, wherever you might be, the answer to this thing that the podcast you're listening to cannot remember. They were talking about Batman Forever and who played Robin. Who was the guy that played Robin? He played it in Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Exactly. And I'm like, Chris O'Donnell, I know this. This is who it is. And it was driving me up the wall. For whatever reason, pause the podcast. Again, which has been pre-recorded. This has been recorded for days. I know that they already know the answer by the time I'm listening to it. I had to pause the podcast and tweet at them and say, oh my God, you guys, Chris O'Donnell.
Also,
and then, of course, like 5 minutes after I re-hit play on the episode, Chris was like, oh yeah, it's Chris O'Donnell, guys. I'm like, so they did know it. But there was a lot of good Batman
You said
discussion.
Up the Wall, which made me go back to Off the Wall, which is Michael Jackson, who also did Thriller.
Which ties back to the record episode of Sonder Stories.
As a child,
Shit.
we had Off the Wall and Thriller.
And I had Thriller until
LPs.
Mom decided that we could no longer have Thriller. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, you have no
Love
Thriller.
you.
Crack it. Yeah, Julia, I mean, favorite Batman?
I want to see the original Michael Keaton version.
Very good.
Yeah. I mean, the other ones were good. I think that Batman Forever would probably be second on the list. but there is something about just my original Batman movie. Yeah, I mean, Adam West is always going to be like the quintessential Batman, but that was a series. Come on. He was hilarious. Campy as hell, but you've got to admit that there was just something special, air quotes, about Adam West's Batman.
Sure.
What about you? What's your top Batman movie?
Will Arnett. Will Arnett's my favorite Batman, Lego Batman.
Okay. That's fair.
Gotcha on that one.
You know, I have been put in my place, and I accept that. I accept defeat. I will bow out gracefully, but not before we finish. Any other final notes that you had about episode 64? What grinds our gears from Shift Beers? I only had one other note.
I just want to say that I know that they talked about slightly non-alcoholic offerings, and
Chris hates it. I think there's a place for it.
I think there's a place for it. I want the category to grow.
Yeah.
And the reason why I want the category to grow is because I would love to be able to have a non-alcoholic offering. And by the way, when you listen to people from the Craft Brewers Association, like I listen to, as we talked about, all the podcasts.
Yes, every last one of them.
The Craft Brewers Association thinks of non-alcoholic beer as your best third beer of the night. They say, okay, you had a beer, you had two beers, have a non-alcoholic beer as a third beer to break it up. Like,
yeah.
You know, instead of water, you still have flavor. Yes, you still have calories.
Yes.
And I don't care if I'm drinking these beers, I'm not caring about
the
calories.
calorie count. Yeah. I mean,
But-
perfect. Sorry, go ahead.
But what I would say is they have to be at least tasty.
Yes.
Most of the options I've had have not hit the mark on a bullseye. They have not. Now, I haven't had Mad Tree's offering, which I'm hoping to have soon. Most of the offerings haven't hit the mark. They've been either too malty or too watery, or you're not drinking a beer. The closest thing in the long way ago that I've had, back when I used to do triathlons and P90X and all this other stuff. So I don't
Good
know.
old Tony Horton. Tony.
Tony Horton.
Like a pterodactyl backing out of trouble.
Bah.
Do your best,
Do
forget
your
the
best.
rest.
Forget the rest.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I was Tony Horton. Tony Horton.
I got you doing it. I'm sorry.
Tony Horton freak back in, I don't know, what, 2010, 12,
yeah.
13. Back then, it was, I liked, what was the German non-alcoholic
Oh, I know what you're
with the
talking
boob
about.
lady on the thing?
Yeah. I know what you're talking
It doesn't
about.
matter.
It
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The point is, the only reason why I liked it is because it tasted like malt and skunk at the same time. It's like, oh wow, they captured the skunk flavor of beer. I was like, that's that's not supposed to be a thing at all. The point is that I want a great non-alcoholic option that it doesn't miss a beat with their counterpart.
Right. Like for me, like and this is what I almost tried not to step over you on earlier, but for me, doing this episode, doing these recordings, Truth, Beer, and Consequences, is the perfect example. There are plenty of times where we're getting ready to wrap up an episode. I'm getting ready to drive all the way back to the west side. I want another beer, but I know that to make sure that I get home okay, to make sure that I am okay to drive home,
Yep.
I can't have that final beer. I
sure.
can't hang out with you for that extra 15, 20 minutes. Sure, I could drink water, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have no issue with that.
Sure.
But I would love to have a non-alcoholic option that's not Coke. That's not Sprite. That's not
Agreed.
water. That's not tea.
Agreed. I
Something
want
that
sugar
tastes
in
like
a different
beer.
form.
Exactly.
I know it's sugar.
Yeah.
I don't want soda.
Not the calories. It's about it's about still having the experience that you are having a beer with someone.
Exactly.
But you're still okay for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You want to leave the alcohol out.
Without a doubt.
Out of. Right. So I understand what Chris was saying. Like his opinion's his opinion, and that's fine. I 100% see where he's coming from. But I feel that there is definitely a place for it.
I do.
In the industry.
I do.
And I think that we are getting close with each company that releases an iteration of non-alcoholic beer. I think Athletic Brewing Company, I haven't had any of it, but I have heard very good things about it, or at least I'm hearing the most about it. Maybe it's not good, but maybe I'm just hearing the most about it. But I want to try Mad Trees. And
I want to try Mad Trees, and maybe we should flop some, some donation funds that way to try some Athletic Brewing non-alcoholic beers. I'm up for trying them. I have to be honest.
Far, they haven't hit the mark to where you're like, I'm just not. This isn't what I want to get.
I have to be honest. I think they're gonna fall short, and I know that the Rock is Dwayne Johnson is a heavy investor.
Yep.
In Athletic Brewing, and so this is a segment that's going to grow, not just because the Rock's
just in general. Sure.
But in general,
I mean, look at seltzer. Seltzers used to be a very they've been around for a very long time.
Yes.
They are now, I mean, aside from beer, some of the best alcoholic drinks out there, depending on where you're getting them from. And I think non-alcoholic beer can be that next thing where, depending on where you're getting it from, local brewery, big non-alcoholic beer company.
Yeah.
It's getting there.
In Europe, it's over 10% of the consumption.
Oh wow.
In the U.S., it's 2% of the consumption. So the ability to grow in the U.S. is here. It's there, and I'm here for it.
Sure.
I'm totally here for it. I mean, I don't have off days, but if I had off days and I was in between breakfast and lunch, I mean, other than cracking a Pilsner, if I could crack something that, hit the spot that didn't have alcohol, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm totally here for that.
Yeah.
But the taste is
still something
overwhelmingly not appealing for one reason or the other.
Well, did you have, before we get to our favorite part of our Shift Beers recap, did you have any other things to say about this particular episode?
They know they took some time off. They know that time off was for varied reasons.
Yeah.
And
deserved, and we don't
deserved, and
fault them for that.
all that.
Yeah.
But they feel themselves getting back into the groove.
Oh, this felt so much. This felt like a normal episode, and I say that in energy-wise, all that. Which
yeah.
Again, I believe was the last episode where you could tell that the energy level was a little low, and we get it. I mean, we understand.
And we have shows that way, I'm sure.
Sure. Oh,
I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's good to hear them back to where it feels like they are more rejuvenated. They are more ready to go. They're more excited to be doing the podcast because they don't have 500,000 other things that they're trying to do all at the same time.
Regardless of those, they're still here for it. They're in it.
Yeah.
All about it. So thank you. And let's cheers to the new year, and good on you.
Hell yeah. Yeah, only other note that I had on this episode was, yes, we were able to hear the pour that you guys were doing.
Yep.
There aren't many podcasts that we have an actual thing around.
True.
Other than Shift Beer. So, Marco, do you want to talk about what the last most important key part of our Shift Beers recap is for people that may be new to our show?
again, all of you that have come on this journey with us, thank you. And to everyone new, thank you for coming on board. There is one show out of all the 12 or 13 that on any given week in Cincinnati come out that we have a drinking game around. And that drinking game is with shift beers. Now, the average drink of any person's consumption is about 2 ounces. So what we do is we listen to shift beers and we count all the audible burps. And because you can't count unaudible burps.
Imagine that.
So we count all the audible burps. We tick mark them, tally them up, and we tell you how many the burps are, and then times that times 2 ounces, and tell you how many pints you would have had to consume during the episode. Not 12-ounce beers. I mean, be real. I mean, so not 12-ounce beers, pints, and we tell you how many you go through if you play the drinking game with shift beers. So, Julia, as our official burp count tracker, what you got?
All right, so this week they had mentioned in the show that they thought about doing like a New Year's resolution type thing, and they decided that was just too cliche. They didn't want to do it. So I titled the margin of my notebook that I count the burps in, because I always do something fun.
Yeah.
You know, I'll say like...
I see the tick marks.
Yeah. The tick marks are resolutions. So these are the number of resolutions, aka burps, during the show. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, this is a very round number. This is a very even number of pints for the burp count, which is why I thought, are they adding burps? Are these all legitimate burps, or are they padding their numbers somehow? To be determined. But this episode 64 of Shift Beers, they had an audible 64 burps.
Ooh.
Which is 128 ounces of liquid.
Oh, my.
Which is an even, like a dead even, 8 pints.
Wow.
That is...
Shift Beers.
Almost their top. That is...
Holy hell.
Holy crap. That is very close to their top episode, which was in the 70s. And that was one of their seltzer episodes because, holy shit, I mean, seltzers are just crazy.
Julia, that's...
A lot, which is why
I'm
questioning the validity of it. So Shift Beers, you have played us before with removing burps. Are you playing us now with adding burps? I don't know.
Don't know.
It's still fun. I mean, it's one of those, fun. I'm going to have fun with it regardless, but it does, I am skeptical now anytime I listen to their episodes of what's happening burp-wise.
Yeah, I get it from the sense of like anybody who watches or follows sports ball stuff. There was a NFL insider who, you know, there was some stuff leaked about 6 or 8 months ago where they were sending their stuff to proofread for, I think, a sports team or something before they actually, you know, sent it out as insider information. I mean, the point is that we don't know or trust necessarily, I mean, how accurate or valid the things are coming out, because you clearly have the technology to manipulate.
We're trusting you guys.
We're trusting you because we'll take it on face value.
But
we never said that we were filtering anything. We just said we were counting audible burps. So, I mean, if you're artificially inflating your count, I mean, how would we know that? We wouldn't. We're just going to, you know,
report what we hear.
Report what we hear.
Like you said, face value. Yep.
At face value.
Yep.
So, love you all. Congratulations on
coming back full steam ahead.
and really admitting, saying, hey, I think we're in our groove now, and I think you are. And cheers to you. Cheers to the New Year's. And
enjoy the draft top, the can top cutter offer that Truth Beer Pod gave you.
Yes.
Like I said, I thought that it was something gimmicky and fun, and hopefully you guys have fun with it once you learn how to use it so that you don't slice your fingers off.
Yeah, please don't slice any fingers off.
Yeah.
that would be negative.
That'd be awful.
Contrary to the original intent.
Yeah, 100%.
So, anyways, thank you guys. Great content, and can't wait to, listen to the next episode.
Oh, yeah.
Catch up with you soon.
Count some more burps, real or otherwise.
That's right.
All right. Well, that was an amazingly fun talk about shift beers and an amazingly fun in the weeds talk about things that grind the shift beers gears that we talked about, adjuncts and billions of hops and all that other good stuff. So, as we always say, support Shift Beer, support all of the podcasts that we recap. So if you had fun listening to us talk about it, listen to them, give them listenership. If you support them, they have stuff to talk about, which means we have stuff to talk about. Was there anything else we really had before we kind of close out episode 25 of Truth, Beer, and Consequences?
Nice. 25.
I know, 25. Big number.
No, I mean, they ended the show on talking about our, holiday gift, and that was great and fun.
Yeah, the energy was back.
They're definitely getting into the rhythm of things, into the zone.
Yeah.
Thank you for, the content. Truly appreciate it. Let's just, I don't need to say what's already been said. Let's just say thank you, and we'll move on.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of closes out the show for today. I do want to repeat what we mentioned in the beginning of the show, which is how you can support Truth, Beer, and Consequences.
That's worth repeating.
If you have fun listening to our show, please subscribe, follow, wherever you listen to us. If your listening platform has an option to review, we would obviously love to get a 5-star or a top-level review of the show. I believe that Audible, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts now allow reviews of the show. So
okay. Nice.
Put a review out there. Help get us even farther up the charts in Australia and Canada and the United States than we already are. Shout out to the Newport Report. I know they didn't put out an episode this week, but thank you to them for helping us fly up those Canadian food and beverage podcast charts for some reason.
Thank you, Brandon J.
And thank you to Brandon J for sponsoring this entire episode and all of the beers in all of the empty glasses that we have on the table in front of us. We really, really appreciate your support and cannot thank you enough. So like, subscribe, review, share the podcast with your friends. Tell them about Truth, Beer, and Consequences if you think they have any interest in. Maybe you have a friend that loves beer, loves podcasts, but think there are too many Cincinnati beer podcasts out there. I don't know what to listen to. Have them listen to us and let us help be the determining factor of where their downloads go each week or each month.
Yep.
We'd love to help drive them to shows that are fun and enjoyable for them. You can follow us on all of your favorite social media platforms. We are at Truth Beer Pod. Send us an email. Let us know if there is a podcast out there that is local to Cincinnati that did a singular episode on Cincinnati craft beer that maybe we don't know about, such as the Jungle Gyms International podcast or That's So Cincy.
Yep.
Let us know if there is another podcast out there that is solely based on Cincinnati craft beer that we don't know about yet and we haven't discovered yet, so we can listen to them and talk about them and maybe have a little fun at their expense, but in the best way possible because we want to support what they're doing.
Please.
So truthbeerpod@gmail.com. Let us know. Go to our website, truthbeerpod.com. We have a big blue support us link if you would like to buy us a pint and be a sponsor of the show. We will give you a shout out and thank you publicly for buying us a pint or multiple pints. It will help us in A, drinking beer while we talk about these shows, and B, upgrading our equipment and potentially getting stickers or shirts or buttons or things to grow what we are trying to do in the craft beer world here in Cincinnati.
Word.
That's how you can support us. Thank you again from the bottom of our hearts for everything that you have all done for us so far as listening, talking about us, all of that good stuff. Huge thank you to mini producer Rachel, mini producer Josh, to my mom, to Marco's mom for listening, to all of our friends, to producer Kenny, to BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery, and to all of you. Thank you for being here. Marco, what the hell are you doing next Tuesday?
starting tomorrow, I'm going to listen to all the craft beer podcasts that were produced in Cincinnati, and then I am looking forward to getting together with you next Tuesday to give our version of the truth. What are you doing?
I think I'm going to be right here at BC's Bottle Lodge in Montgomery with you doing the exact same thing.
Well, then, cheers, Julia.
Cheers. Have a great one, guys.
Take
See
care,
you next
everyone.
week.